Let's take a look here at DB instances. So this is an isolated database environment running in the cloud. DB instance can contain one or multiple user-created databases. So just understand, you can make multiple databases, but usually it's just one per instance. Some database engines require that a database name be specified. You can have up to 40 RDS DB instances per AWS account, 10 for each of the SQL Server editions, 10 for the Oracle under license included model, 40 for DB2 under the bring your own license model, 40 for MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, 40 for Oracle under the bring your own license model. So yeah, it's a what you want to utilize out of that number set, okay? Each database has user-defined database identifier, which forms part of the DNS host name. Okay, so the DNS endpoint is how you'd establish a connection. Notice that it has the database identifier, which just says my RD instance. It's the name of your database instance, not your database instance. And then there's also this AWS defined RDS unique identifier, which you don't ever have to worry about, but you just copy and paste it from the URL. The database identifier identifies the RDS instance is not the database name, okay? If this was a connection string URL, the database name would be right here on the end. All right. Let's just talk about the classes and storage before we move on here. So the instance class, just like EC2 instance class, is determines the available compute and memory of a database instance. So the DB class types always start with DB period. Okay, so we have general purpose ones that look like this, memory optimized ones, which look like this. And we have the optimized X family, the optimized Z family, and the optimized R family. We have burstable performance. This is what you're mostly going to use if you are just learning, which we have T2. And by the way, while I was recording this, AWS actually retired this one. So T2 is no longer available. And I think in the videos, I probably try to use T3s anyway. So I just want you to know, like, we try to use the T2 because it was the free tier, but I guess the T3 is now the free tier, or probably already was. So just understand that that is a change that literally just happened. We have optimized reads, so there's those as well. Let's take a look at instance storages for database. So DB instances use EBS volumes for database and long storage. You can utilize general purpose SSDs, provisioned IOPS SSDs, magnetic, which is not recommended, but it's something you can do in certain cases. You have a maximum storage that most DB instance classes will have up to 64 terabytes, which makes sense because it's the same thing for EBS, and it's based off the block size, which is something like 16 kilobits or something, 64 kilobits, I forget. This will greatly vary based on the engine type and instance type and size. You can increase the storage size of an EBS. We talk about this in another section, but there's this thing called optimized reads and writes, and those use NVMEs instead of using EBS. And so you get much better performance there, but for the most part, EBS is what RDS is using. A reason that you might not want to use RDS is just because the storage is not fast enough, and so some folks will run bare metal or just run a different configuration on EC2 instances. But for the most part, it's pretty darn good. RDS will not let you reduce the size of your storage, only increase it. To decrease storage size, you create a new DB instance that has less provisioned storage space. So there you go.